talk in the book about Brexit being actually potentially quite a hopeful moment.
Yes.
Tell us why a bit more.
Well, so part of the idea was we sort of said to ourselves, if we could write a positive story for the UK, you could write a positive story for anyone, right? So that was part of the goal, because everyone's saying that they're really in trouble, right? So part of the argument basically is that we think every country needs to step back and take a look at the crises we're describing and what it means for them, and then create a positive strategy for how to move forward. So what does that look like for someone like the UK? Like leaving the EU, one of the things they've done is they've left one of the major competitors in the world, right? So the US, EU, and China are the ones fighting with each other, right? They're now essentially more neutral. They're big enough to matter. They have a world-class education system. They still have pluralism, really strong pluralistic society. If you look at it, it feels kind of chaotic, but actually it's a really well-run country. It's safe and it's welcoming, right? So when you look at that, you say, okay, how could I make that into an asset? Well, the US isn't taking on the same number of people it was before in terms of immigrants. And Silicon Valley was essentially an immigrant-led model, right? What if the US says, let's get the best and the brightest around the world, have them come to our university system, have some of them stay, have some of them go home. So we build connectivity between other nations as markets or places to do work. But a lot of the IQ stays in the UK. What if we actually become the place where the world meets? Because in a fractured world, you got to meet somewhere. And so it becomes kind of one of the innovation engines and one of the meeting places and banking places for the world. Essentially, it does at scale what Singapore did 30 years ago, right? I think that's completely feasible for the UK right now.
Do you think the UK can get out of its own way in terms of the polarization that's there right now and the polarization around Brexit?
That's the question for every country in the world, right? I mean, and in a sense, this is where people sort of say, Blair, is this a horror story or is it a book of hope, right? And I think yes, in some ways. So the answer is, if the UK doesn't get out of its own way, it's a horror story. If it does get out of its own way, it's an incredibly interesting opportunity, massive opportunity. And I think this is where we can't point to one person and say, it's your job, Boris Johnson. You just can't do that. It's where everyone in the UK who has some kind of responsibility step up and say, I'm going to make this a great place. Let's agree on what we're trying to do and let's go make it happen. And we need to do that in every province, every state, every city, every country in the world. And we can't say it's his or her fault because it's our fault. Right? We all have to step up